Alright, Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praise to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakakadash. Double honors, the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, who are teaching this truth in sincerity, and shout out to Yakims out there in the four quarters of the earth proclaiming this truth. Braka the Yahweh, Braka the Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakakadash, Brakatum. So, definitely you have to have eyes to see and ears to hear what the Spirit is saying. And you're going to see it everywhere, man, once you have the eyes and ears to see. Because Esau, the Edomites know who they are too, the elite do. And so there's this encryptic message in this WWE event, which SummerSlam's a big WWE event this weekend. And you just got to have spiritual eyes to see it and to hear it, as this brother goes into, man. See, we have eyes to see and ears to hear, so we can pick up this encryptic message, And we're just reliving previous lives, man. We're the reincarnate, because a nickname for Brock Lesnar is the Beast Incarnate, the reincarnate. So again, you do go through incarnations, right? And we're in the regeneration, the reincarnation of Esau, Edom, as well as the regeneration of Jacob. And it's always been a fight between Jacob and Esau. Here we are now, in the presence today. We're waking up as to who we truly are. And these elites, they know it. That's why they put these encryptic messages in everything that they do. And so, without further ado, here's a breakdown on what took place over the weekend and believe it or not, that other guy, Bray Wyatt, who they had, said a lot of encryptic stuff too. WWE is known to have encryptic stuff. In fact, one of their teams, NWO, the New World Order, was one of the older ones when Hulk Hogan went bad. They always had encryptic messages, so they know all about the New World Order and all about, the kingdom to come. And they put encryptic messages in their stuff. In fact, to make fun of us, there's another group that they created, a duo, called the Street Prophets. What's that sound like? Well, we've been going out there and teaching for quite some time, and we're Street Prophets, so they deliberately created that tag team as well. To sort of make fun of us, if you will, but also to bring it to light. You see, like everything else, though, Esau knows that we know who we are now. And so here we go.
Congratulations. This is the future, ladies and gentlemen. This is the past. This is the future. A true passing of the torch moment here tonight.
Hey, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Ruach HaKodesh, double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace, love, salutations, and blessings to the house of David, which is the elect. And something real quick I just came across, I thought it was pretty spiritual. All right, of course, looking at this, with the lenses of the scriptures and the spirit. I came across this post on Instagram, and it's from SummerSlam. I guess it was today, which is August 1st, 2026. And you had this individual by the name of Oba Femi, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. I believe he's a Nigerian wrestler, and he, as it says here, defeated Brock Lesnar. Which Brock Lesnar is a well-known wrestler, right? I believe he was a football player as well, and he did some UFC. Could be a Jake, but for the purpose of this lesson, we will just look at it from the lenses of Jacob and Esau, right? Because this individual that defeated him, Oba, he's Nigerian, right? So definitely an Israelite. But Brock Lesnar basically, I think this may have been his last wrestling match, which he ended up losing. Although we know that this is all scripted, but regardless, the significance is what was said, right? What Brock Lesnar said as he walked off the stage, which I believe, like I said, was his last match, and it was a Hell in a Cell, right? Cage match. So that's also spiritual as well, because Jacob's or Esau's heaven is Jacob's hell. So Jacob and Esau, as the scripture speaks about in the book of Genesis, the 25th chapter, right, when they was in Rebecca's womb, they fought. So that, in a sense, can be like a Hell in a Cell match, right? Because the two twins, the two sons, were wrestling. They were wrestling in her womb, right? Let me see if I can pull that up real quick. Book of Genesis, chapter 25. Genesis chapter 25, verse start at 22. It says, and the children, right, the children being Isaac's sons, which were twins, Jacob and Esau, that struggled together within her. And she said, if it be so, why am I thus? And she went to inquire of the Lord. So let's go and see what this word struggle means in the Hebrew, right? It says struggle, crushed, pressed, to struggle together, right? So basically they were fighting each other, right? They were struggling against one another in the womb. And as we know the story, right? Like I said, I'm trying to just run through this real quick, but you see the video and what he said, right, which was spiritual. But reading on, it said, and the Lord said unto her, two nations are in thy womb, and two manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels. And the one people shall be stronger than the other, and the elder shall serve the younger. Okay, so the elder was Jacob. When you read who came out first was, the elder was Esau, right? When you read who came out first, in the 25th verse, it says Esau came out first, he was red, right? Like a hairy garment. And when you even look at, Brock Lesnar, right, his skin, right, is red, okay? And the individual, Oba, he came out melanated, he came out, regular looking like his mother and his father, right? Because Esau was a clean leopard. Now, something else I found interesting was the name, right? The meaning of Oba's name, right? His actual, birth name, as you see here. Not even going to try to pronounce that, right? But it says he is a Nigerian professional wrestler under the ring name Obafemi is in the competent king of the ring. Okay, so he is the king of the ring. Okay, he came from Lagos, Nigeria. Now his name, as you see, in his name is Isaac. Okay, but when you go to, I went to chat and I just basically asked chat for the breakdown of his name. So his first name actually is Yoruba, right? It's Yoruba origin, and his first name means because of God, right? Or it is because of God's goodness or His grace. All right, it expresses that a person's life or blessing is attributed to God. See, so Jacob really is the one who got the blessing. Jacob is the one who got promise, right? The promise of this, from Abraham to Isaac, and then from Isaac unto Jacob. Let's get that in the book of 2 Ezra, 3rd chapter, right? 2 Ezra chapter 3, verse 13. It says, now when they lived so wickedly before thee, thou didst choose thee a man from among them whose name was Abraham. Him thou lovest, and unto him only thou shewest thy will, and madest an everlasting covenant with him, promising him that thou wouldest never forsake his seed, right? Because although Abraham had multiple sons, the seed of the promise was Isaac, all right? Which once again, this Nigerian wrestler, part of his name is Isaac. Verse 16, it says, and unto him thou gavest Isaac, right? And unto Isaac also thou gavest Jacob and Esau. So Isaac had twins, as we read, Jacob and Esau, right? And remember, this is following the seed of the promise, right? From Abraham unto Isaac, and then Isaac had twins. But Jacob, as we know, is the one who received the blessing because, Esau sold the birthright, right? He didn't, he didn't appreciate it. He said, what good is my birthright? He sold it for a morsel of meat. Who is more profane than Esau? Okay. It says, as for Jacob, thou didst choose him to thee and put by Esau. So Jacob became a great multitude. And when he reads the put by, meaning he put him aside, right? Esau was put aside, although he was Isaac's son. He was not the one that the Lord chose as the man whose seed would be blessed, whose seed will ultimately inherit, the blessing, the promise, the rulership, the dominion, the earth. Okay, now, although Jacob, got the ultimate blessing, Isaac also did give Esau a blessing, right? And Esau's blessing is what we're living in right now, although we're in the end of Esau's blessing. And that is why what, Brock Lesnar said was very, spiritual, because for a time period, Brock Lesnar was the man, right? He was the guy, he was the champion. But as his time came and went, his time came and now it's over, he said, that this guy is the future, right? I'm gonna play that again. This is so you can hear it again.
Congratulations. This is the future, ladies and gentlemen. This is the past. This is the future.
Now, the fact that he even pointed to himself and said that this is the past, and he pointed to Oba, right? Because of God, right? That's his first name, Tola Ula, however you pronounce it, right? And part of his middle name is Isaac, or probably his first name. I think that might be his whole first name. I'm not too sure how they do it over there, in Nigeria, but definitely a Jake, okay? But Brock Lesnar pointed to himself and said, this is the past, and he pointed to Oba, Femi, and said, this is the future. And that is exactly what the scriptures, portrays. That is what we're living in right now. So it's no coincidence, right? It's no coincidence. It's all spiritual that, he said that at this time where we're seeing the end of Esau's reign, we're seeing the Esau's kingdom come to an end, and it's past, and you can't bring it back, right? We would have, what did it say? Thou shalt build, but the Lord said, thou shalt surely build, but I will tear it down, right? There is no rebuilding, right? There is no holding on to your kingdom. It's over and it's through. It's done, right? And it's all based off of prophecy, right? The parting asunder of times here in 2 Ezra 6, verse 7. Then answered I and said, what shall be the parting asunder of times? Or what shall be the end of the first and the beginning of it that followeth? Meaning what are going to be the signs that this age, this time is over, right? And then the beginning of it that followeth is what the age where we rule, where we have the dominion, where we have the kingdom. So this is what Esdras was asking, the Lord via the angel, right? What are going to be the parting of Sunday of times? What is going to show that this is over, right? And then the world to come, the age that we rule is here. So he said what? And he answered me and said, from Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, born of who? Isaac. Jacob hand held first the heel of Esau, right? Because they were wrestling in the womb. Meaning what? Jacob, right, brought down Esau, right? For Esau is the end of the world, the past, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth, right? So soon as Esau is down, who comes up? Jacob. Jacob is the son of who? Isaac. What is this guy's name? I'm going to go back to it, right? Because of God, right? That's his first name. The second name, it doesn't really give much, but then what? Isaac. See? So and then his last name means like the hunter has returned, or the hunter came back. That's spiritual too, man, right? The hunter has returned, or the hunter came back, because ultimately Jacob is the stronger, as we read. He is the one that will be the stronger nation. He will be the one that will be the dominant, right? As it says that the elder shall serve the younger. So as we read once again, verse 9, for Esau is the end of the world, he is the past, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. Okay, so like I said, I just want to bring this up because him saying that is very spiritual, right? Pointing to himself, said this is the past, this is the future. And then after he said that, he raised his hand up as to be the champion, the victor, and then he walked off. It's funny too because I think Brock Lesnar has a sword on his stomach, right, on his chest rather. Yeah, you see, he has a sword tattoo on his stomach, and we know Esau was, the man that was blessed with the sword. But that isn't going to, save you. That isn't going to, keep your kingdom, because as Yahweh Shai said, if you live by the sword, you die by the sword.
A true passing of the torch moment here tonight.
Hey, so I'm gonna close with that. Lord willing, this was edifying, right, and uplifting unto the elect, and we are about to receive our kingdom, right? We are at the end of Esau's age. There's nothing that they can do about it. All right, so with that, giving all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakakwadash, Shalom.
Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. But we're not going to get the kingdom without a fight. You see, Yahweh Shai and the angels are going to fight Esau and the remainder of his armies, which, as you get into the Gog-Magog war, right? After Babylon's destroyed, well, Gog-Magog is the other half of Esau Edom, and he's going to be destroyed. Jacob's trouble is here and now, and this is from another brother teaching a live lesson, and just going to get into this, morning news and prophecy. The roster for Jacob's trouble. For Esau is the end, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth.
All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Makakwadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders, GMS, who rule well, teach well, being great examples towards young brothers, and peace and blessings and salutations to the hope elect out there pushing the word and truth. And it's a series across the four winds in the name of Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Makakwadash, pushing the up out of Shalom for the hope elect, the believers and listeners who have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai. All right, and what I want to get into this lesson, is dealing with the roster for Jacob's trouble. Okay, the roster for Jacob's trouble, because we know that we're at the end of this thing. All right, and we know certain prophecies have to play out, and there's a time spoken of in the Bible known as Jacob's trouble. Okay, and understanding the circumstances that we're in when our enemy Esau Edom, okay, our chief enemy in the earth, okay, is in the peak of his power. All right, and there's things are beginning, to backfire on this devil with his agenda. Okay, the Lord is intentionally making this man frustrated, you see, and he's going to wild out, all right, on the citizens, okay, of America, man. The citizens of the world, but mainly the citizens of America, all right, to enforce his new world order. And in the midst of that, he's going to be getting at Jacob in a way that he's never got at Jacob before, and our people have no clue. And this rivalry, okay, goes all the way back to the book of Genesis. Okay, and that's why even now understanding the dynamic of Jacob and Esau, all right, could be life-saving. As you see in these latter days, our people are being caught up, still trusting this devil. Okay, Jake being put to death. All right, the nigga woman going on, dates with Edomites, not coming back. Okay, and Jake hanging around Edomites and getting isolated and being put to death. Okay, and that's Esau showing his true nature. Okay, and our people think just because they're not in chattel slavery, okay, just because it's not like the movie Roots, okay, real time, that these devils don't have that same hatred. No, their hatred is there, it never left. Okay, and the Lord is stirring their hatred back up. And you look at the leadership, okay, of Esau in these last days. Okay, Trump, Pete Hegseth, okay, Stephen Miller, Stephen Miller, whatever that nigga name is, man. And that was nigga Mark Rubio. Okay, well, the Lord has a roster for Jacob Trouble. We're going to get into those guys, man, a little bit. But let's go here, let's get some precepts, and then we'll segue, into some information. But when you go, when you go to Genesis 27 and 41, and Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing wherewith his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, the days of mourning for my father are at hand. Then will I slay my brother Jacob. Okay? And see, our people, as we're telling you that we are the people, the chosen people, we are the people of the Lord's blessings. Okay? We are the inheritor of the promises of Yahweh Bashim Al-Shai. You see, and what you Israelites don't understand, you don't have to believe in the blessings for Esau to hate you. Okay? And then you get into the higher ups of these Edomites, they know that you're the chosen people. They know you have a blessing. And this new world order, all right, part of this new world order is to prevent us from getting our blessing. Esau's trying to bless himself. Okay, so transition from his old system to trying to establish a new system, man. He's going to get at Jacob, man. Okay, so you Israelites, whether or not you believe the blessing or not, why you're spending most of your time mocking, your Hebrew Israelite testimony, part 48. You see, while you're concerned with that, well, your enemy is booting up. Okay, this devil, I say the Lord is intentionally making this man frustrated, and this man is going to be like a madman sparing up, because the Lord wants Jacob's trouble, because he has a remnant of people he's going to deliver and show his power in the midst of Jacob's trouble, and then there's 2/3 he's going to judge in the midst of Jacob's trouble, man. Okay, and read verse 42, it says, and these words of Esau, all right, it says, and these words of Esau, her eldest son, were told to Rebekah, and she sent and called Jacob her younger son. Okay, so, and it shows you because Rebecca, the one to set up the plate through the Spirit had Rebecca to set up a plate where Jacob would be the one that would give the birth, right, and the blessing, which it was his anyway. In the Spirit, we went into that, several times. Okay, but Rebecca, the Spirit was on her, all right, to set up a plate for Jacob to get the blessing. And then she said, it says, and these words of Esau, her eldest son, were told to Rebecca, which means Rebecca had someone spying on that nigga Esau, man. She did not trust that nigga, man. Hey, shout out to Rebecca, man. One of my beloved foremothers, man. Hey, she had a spy on that nigga Esau, man. Okay, she did not like that nigga, trust that nigga, man. Okay, it says, and she sent and called Jacob, her younger son, and said unto him, behold, thy brother Esau is touching thee, doth comfort himself, purposing to kill thee. So she put Jacob on game. Like, look, this nigga is comforting himself by purposing to kill thee. You see? And that hatred has never left. You see, and that's one thing we have to understand. I say our people think just because, they work with these Edomites, they laugh and joke and, get promotions and you see, they think that they're able to be a judge or you see, a mayor and a chief of police, and Jake think that their hatred isn't there. All right? But when you go to the book of Amos, chapter 1, and verse 11, all right, this is the book of Amos, chapter 1, verse 11, said, thus said the Lord, Yahweh Bashim Al-Shai, for 3 transgressions of Edom, and for 4 I will not turn away the punishment thereof, because he did pursue his brother with the sword, and did cast off all pity, and his anger did tear perpetually, and he kept his wrath forever. So the hatred from back in Genesis never went away. And that's why you look at the history of Jacob and Esau, okay, it's been nothing but a rock, man. You see, when we came out of Egypt, okay, who was the first nation to, to antagonize us, man, to attack us? Okay, it was Amalek, man, Edomites. You see, when the Babylonians took us down, who's there? Okay, helping the Babylonians, man. You see, it was Esau. Okay, when Esau came in the power of the Greeks, well, what did he do to Jacob, man? Hey, he terrorized Jacob, man. Let's go to the book of Maccabees. That's why he had the Maccabean revolt. Okay, that was a response to, Esau forcing Hellenization. Okay, terrorizing Jacob. He will lose the devil, but he will lose a war. Okay, especially under Antiochus Epiphanes, man. All right.
Whom we believe to be Biden today, Antiochus Epiphanes.
See, they'll lose a war, and he will come what? terrorize Jacob. And it's the same situation today, man. Okay? The Lord got him losing a war abroad. Okay?
Yep,
And
Nero
he's going to
Caesar.
take that anger out on, man. Okay? The most. You see? And it says, because he did pursue him with the sword and did cast off all pity, and his anger did tear perpetually. Okay? Perpetually ongoing. And he kept his wrath forever. And see, our people, under the oppression, okay, that this devil, is different. These modern Edomites are different. No, man, this same hatred is there, and it's starting to surface. Because one thing about this Trump character, he has emboldened a lot of these Edomites, man. Okay, to be proud to be Edomites and not to be ashamed of how they came into power. You see, and we're gonna get into, a few things. When you go, let's go here. Let's get this in the book of Luke. Let's get this in Jeremiah first. So you go to the book of Jeremiah chapter 30. Okay, and 7. Well, I started at 6. It's Jeremiah 36. It says, ask ye now, and see what a man doth travail with child. Wherefore do I see every man with his hands on his loins as a woman in travail, and all faces are turned into paleness. Okay? Showing you how bad it's going to be. Okay? There's going to be some very serious times coming up. Okay? And then we don't have the hedge of Yahweh by Shem al Shah, man. It's just going to be a terror out here, man. This time is going to be a terror unto you, man. Okay? But the Lord, said we will laugh at famine. So the Lord going to have, provisions for his elect. We're going to be tested. We're going to be tried. We're going to go through uncomfortable moments, man. But it's going to be nothing like what the 2/3 are getting ready to go through, man. Okay? And this is going to be their worst time ever. Okay, in the earth, man. We're going to be witnessing these things, man. We're going to be amongst these things. Okay? Verse 7 says, alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. Okay, and then he that shall be saved out of it, the remnant. Okay, there's an elect that the Lord's going to save out of Jacob.
Yep, and we pray we're part of that hopeful elect. That's why we do things as diligently as we can. You can catch this brother's live lesson, GMS Kingdom Minded, 144. That's one of his channels. He has a lot of backup channels, which is a good thing, just like I'm on BitChute, Odyssey, Rumble, as well as YouTube, so I'm a little bit everywhere. Israelite Foreigner 3, Trump warns U.S. faces Spain-style migrant invasion. Isn't that convenient, right? All of a sudden, well, it's Trump shit, right? Because he wants to push that illegal migrant shit, right? So that way he can come hard on you jakes, right? But he's also going to say that, oh, well, you don't have your borders crossed, right? Which we all know that King Bibi and Donald Trump are behind this because Spain would not help out with his war against Iran. So he's now going to destroy Spain from within. President used the migration crisis in the EU to claim America was overrun by illegals under his predecessor. Oh, there we go. See? Trump shit. Just totally, getting into ISIS, right? Because, he he pretty much brought back ISIS, to deport so-called illegals, right? Trump has repeatedly attacked his political opponents over immigration, blaming his predecessor, Joe Biden, for illegal border crossings, because, the only ones that are legal are the ones that stole the land to begin with. What's happening with Spain with tens of thousands of illegal immigrants invading it happened in the United States during the sleepy Joe Biden administration, and it will happen again. Only worse if the Democrats ever gain power, just to deliberately push this bullshit elections. Trump said late Friday in a brief post on Truth Social, urging Americans to vote Republican in the midterm elections. To the elections, They already know who they're going to get anyways. It's just a waste of time. Plus, this is not a arrest, so we the elect, we'll talk about these things, but, well, certainly we're not a part of it, Spain calls for emergency EU meeting over selfish, polarizing response to Ceuta crisis, which, like everything else, so this is an influx, and this is being deliberately to rip their country apart. And some are calling them Islamic terrorists, if you listen to the language. Madrid said virtually all roughly 50,000 people across were returned within 48 hours without incident. See, over there it's, the immigrants so happen to be Islamophobia, right? You know, which is what Amalek pushes, right? Islamophobia. You know, ISIS, etc. So, you know, the only thing they didn't say is ISIS. Well, they just say Islamic, right? In the current international context, the European Union cannot afford the kind of selfish, polarized, and unlawful reaction. Sanchez wrote in a letter calling on all members and interior ministers for an urgent meeting. Italy suspended, so basically, Spain's getting kicked out of the EU. That's what they're doing. Here's the real answer to Ceuta invasion. Spain's response to Ceuta should go beyond fences and fear and turn crisis management into a new partnership with Africa. Events unfolding in Ceuta should not be reduced to the familiar European language of invasion. Emergency border control from Pan-African perspective, what we are witnessing is a human consequence of a profoundly unequal economic relationship between Africa and Europe. Spain now has an opportunity to move away from the conventional European model with Africa. So I wouldn't be the least bit surprised, though, if Russia is going to actually protect Spain and Spain ends up going over to Russia. Meaning that, okay, they're no longer a part of the EU, they're a part of Russia. I wouldn't be the least bit surprised, right? So, like everything else, though. But they're saying it's Islamic. Islamophobia, it's back. So, here we go. And this is, you know, over in Europe, it's Islamist over there, right? You know, because you had the Syrian refugee crisis. Now you got a lot of people escaping, you know, the wars, right? Because all the Gulf states are getting hit. And the Israelis are taking advantage of it to get Spain out of Europe, you know, because of revenge that Trump wants. Because Spain would not back the war. And of course, you know, the Israeli state is just as pissed off about it. So here we go. Destroying Spain from within. As this video also goes into.
Absolute madness and pandemonium is hitting the streets of Spain in territory that's very close to Morocco. What in the world's going on here? As there are reports of people being trampled, tens of thousands of people moving in, as the corporate media now is talking about, well, just some of these people are going back. Other reports are coming in that the invasion is just beginning. But is it a part of some greater plan that some people online are saying is a part of retaliation by Bibi and Donald Trump against specifically Spain, a country that has not only not helped them, but has spoken out against the military actions that are happening right now in Iran? Are these actions connected with some greater plan to help Morocco get back some of its territory? Maybe. We'll get into that and a lot more all here on this independent media operation. If you appreciate us talking about these particular topics, subscribe, click the notification. Ordered its military to stand down. That is Spanish. That territory in two specific locations with an orchestrated, organized scheme here sent tens of thousands of people rushing across the border illegally. As the Spanish government ordered its military to stand down, Italy officially suspended its Schengen travel with Spain, ordering a sea and air border closure amidst this, quote, new migrant crisis. Is it really a migrant crisis, or is this a weaponization of immigrants against countries for geopolitical purposes? As Reuters is reporting that Spain migrants are now allegedly returning. 57 died in this larger border rush here, as the Prime Minister of Spain says he is accelerating expulsions after, quote, the violations of sovereignty. As vehicles were torched in clashes at Enclave's border gates, Italy says it suspended the Shanghai zone here. And truly, these Spanish territories were brought just to an outright stop here. Now, some people estimate 60,000. Those are some initial numbers. Some people are saying 80,000. The numbers still haven't fully come in here yet, but clearly the videos that are highlighting are showing World War Z-like type of scenarios, as people are describing 12,000 people per hour gaining access to EU territory, with the borders just being absolutely disregarded. Now, there's also accusations and reports of stores being overrun, people having their homes broken into, as there's crazy videos of white Western Spanish women welcoming in, waving in these people that are illegally crossing the border. There was an interview with someone talking about how they were fleeing murder charges, and these white women are like, yeah, look how diverse, look how great it is. As Red Cross workers in Spain attended to the care of these military fighting age males that have entered Europe throughout the last few years and have greatly increased their crime statistics against women, as European governments have literally run an obfuscation effort of hiding who is doing the hurting of women in those particular countries. As, of course, women cheerlead these policies for some strange reason. I think it's absolutely insane, as there's videos of alleged African invaders attempting to break into homes, as people in America are saying, I'm glad we live in a country where you could defend yourselves as people are saying, where will these people sleep? Where will they eat? Again, some reports are coming in that they're coming back. Other reports are saying that there's a bigger mobilization. Brett Weinstein said thousands of Muslim men did not just invade Europe by crossing the Strait of Gibraltar and overwhelm the Spanish border. Chubut is a Spanish city in Africa. The event is part of a familiar and very disturbing pattern, but the portrayal is tailor-made to celebrate an overreaction which will undermine growing opposition to unregulated immigration in Europe. Now, clearly they're going into European territory, as some people are saying that this could be a part of a bigger scheme of helping Morocco take back this territory away from Spain. As even Ursula von der Leyen, Bilderberg member, president of the EU Commission, came out and said the images coming from Chubut are unacceptable. We cannot allow anyone to come to our union without abiding by our rules. Dangerous crossings must stop immediately, smuggling networks must be dismantled, and returns must be swift as our rules allow. Now, this is the same EU Commission that has welcomed in, spent a lot of money on allowing a lot of people from Africa and the Middle East to enter Europe that have had some negative impacts here. Naomi Shevit says, I dare you to use the word re-immigrate, but you won't, because that would mean admitting that your entire legacy is one massive failure. You didn't fail. Destroying Europe was your design. You deserve everything that the victims of the worst migrant crimes have felt. Quote, traitor. Now, some people are highlighting the images yesterday from historical events and paintings like the barbarians at the gate at 4010 AD. And listen, it definitely was wild, to say the least here, as now some people are coming out and saying that this was all part of a bigger conspiracy at play here that will continue to unfold. Is that true? We're going to get into that conspiracy in a little bit. Before we do,
So, there you go, man. That King Bibi and Trump are behind it, but there's one more. It just so happened to be Islamic terrorists, right? And they're supposedly killing Christians, right? It's got to be ISIS. Oh yeah, got to be ISIS. They never talk about the IDF killing Christians, but they always talk about, what is it, Islamic terrorists trained by Mossad? Who do you fucking think ISIS is? Trained by Mossad, IDF. IDF will be coming to your streets too. So there it is. Yeah, it's an annoying thing about phone cams. The fucking phone is going off. You have to listen to that bullshit. You know, most of the time I operate in airplane mode, but that's neither here nor there. And so here we are. Over here, you know, but here's what's interesting. They've been trying to say that it's been Iranian hackers, but Trump seems to shoot it down. I guess he's trying to put it on this facade that he's strong and that they couldn't produce hackers or whatever it is he's trying to do to downplay Iran. You know, because the Iranian response to everything the U.S. does has been huge. You know, and the truth of the matter is, as we're going to get into, is that Saudi Arabia does not want Iran to attack them because Iran had already, Agachi, the leader of Iran, had already said that if there's any strikes whatsoever conducted from Saudi Arabia, that Saudi Arabia is next. So that got them to back down a bit because Saudi Arabia got their asses whooped by Yemen. How much more if Iran goes after them, right? But here we go. Water system hacks hit 7 states this week. Bullshit. There's no fucking water hack. They're lying. But they want to do. They want you to believe this bullshit, right? FBI warns as Trump shoots down Iran theory. Cyber attacks against municipal water systems are reported in at least 7 states this week, according to Joint Public Service announcement from the FBI and Environmental Protection Agency. And in some cases, the agencies say the malicious activity actually degraded water operations. Feds declined to name the states. So, like everything else, so, you know, they're saying that it's a cyber attack. Some shit about a cyber attack. We know that's Trump shit, right? You know, Trump is exasperated with the Iran war, is he? Because he woke up. He woke up a sleeping giant, man. You know, they're ready to fight. They're ready. They're like, come on, send in your ground troops, you fucking coward. All you do is talk. We're tired of talking. Let's see some action. Sources say President Trump is becoming exasperated as he did not anticipate it would be difficult to make Iran comply with its demands. The president exasperated. I don't think he believed it was going to be this difficult to get the Iranians to agree to a deal. President Trump and Prime Minister Bibi ordered a joint surprise attack against Iran in February that ignited the third woe. At this time, leaders predicted a quick victory that would eliminate any threat Iran could pose. After all the time, there is no unity, the official said. We had a series of tactical victories, but are facing a strategic defeat without clear policy guidance or decision about where this is going. And they're losing. So, they're losing a war. This is a war that they cannot win. Trump cancels planned attack against Iran. U.S. President said that the outlines of a deal had been agreed that could reopen the strait and end the conflict, end what he called Iran's nuclear threat. CBS News reported that the U.S. and Israeli state have been preparing a major bombing campaign against the Islamic Republic's energy infrastructure that could begin as early as the weekend. Networks said the proposed operations, which it described as potentially one of the hardest campaigns against Iran to date, was expected to target power plants and oil refineries, while military officials reported discussing cutting electricity across Tehran. Well, the blowback would have been greater. It would have been greater then. Trump said the proposed agreement would include immediate, complete, and total reopening of the Hormuz Strait and to end the nuclear threat. So, blah, blah, blah. Same thing you said the last time. Nobody believes his Trump shit. Why did Trump cancel his attack against Iran? Saudi Arabia played key role in persuading the U.S. president to once again walk back his threats of a devastating bombing campaign against Iran. Donald Trump on Saturday again pulled back from the brink of a devastating campaign, Taco Tuesday, or Taco Trump. In an announcement on his Truth Social platform, the U.S. president said he had canceled the attacks just after hours earlier threatened a major escalation to the 5-month conflict. We'll be hitting them hard, Trump said on Friday. But then, hours later, the president announced that he canceled the attack and claimed a peace deal was close to being worked out. So, more Trump shit. It's because they don't have the power to do it, and the repercussions would be greater than anything that they would want to achieve to begin with. And then you got them meddling in Libya again. Libya with them, right? Suspicious deal. U.S. efforts to reunify Libyan's institutions face a growing resistance. Mounting opposition to the rival leaders backed by D.C. and the Hoffer families have fueled distrust in the envoy Balou's initiative. So you got initiative here. You know, basically. Because these ambassadors from the U.S. are a fucking joke. You got to make fun of them, man. You know, when you talk about the greatest douches of all, you don't get any more than Esau and Amalek, man. Which they're one and the same. 1 month after they have been most significant diplomatic mission in Libya has taken up his post in the region, U.S. envoy continues to raise questions about D.C.'s objectives. Earlier this month, senior advisor to Trump and Arab and Middle Eastern affairs met half of the Libyan officials across the country's rival factions during a diplomatic tour that was widely expected to pave the way for major announcements. So, like everything else, you know, now meddling in their affairs. Last September, publicly stated that D.C. would actively seek to promote the unification of Libya's institutions, which have been divided since the outbreak of the country's second civil war in 2014. You mean the, pretty much the ISIS, but you weren't calling them that. Al-Qaeda took over. You know, just like you got Al-Qaeda run Syria, Al-Qaeda run Libya, which has since divided the outbreak of the country's second civil war in 2014. It wasn't a civil war, it was Al-Qaeda. Following the NATO-backed overthrow of longtime ruler Muammar Gaddafi in 2011. Eastern Libya is controlled by Haftar and its allies, while a UN-backed government led by Dubai and Tripoli governs the west of the country. Since the end of the civil war in 2020, the peace process has been led by the UN support mission. So, like everything else, though. And then you had another assassination against the Gaddafi family. The son of Muammar Gaddafi was also killed, assassinated. So, pretty much though, as usual, insurrections, right? And they're going to be worldwide. You're going to see more of that, like what's going on with Spain. And you can say Libya with them, right? Gomer and all its troops. Then you're going to see a lot of shit happen real soon. Airspace lockdown looms as the U.S. warns Americans to get the fuck out of West Asia as Iran targets Kuwait again. There were no Friday night into Saturday morning U.S. attacks against Iran after President Trump warned he has given an order to hit Iran, though he didn't disclose the timeline. Axios suggested the large U.S. strikes could commence at some point this weekend. The only new and recent attacks have been more apparent Iranian drone strikes against Kuwait. Kuwait's foreign ministry on Saturday confirmed Iran's continued attacks against it after drone attack earlier targeted vital installations. So Kuwait, is up for grabs. Whoever wants it, right? Because they've been big time, players in the war against Iran. So it's up for grabs. Israeli terrorists shell southwestern Syria and southern Quneitra. Israeli terrorists launched new artillery strikes against the Quneitra government in southwestern Syria today, with strikes reported near the town of Tal al-Hama al-Sharqi though no casualties were confirmed. According to Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, this marks the 53rd district Israeli attacks against southwest Syria so far in 2026. This includes the 4 airstrikes and 49 attacks by ground forces. Overall, 5 people have been killed, and we know it's probably a larger number than that, but as usual, that's where IDF is right now, in these countries, while the U.S., helps them with Iran. Israeli terrorists searched civilians in new incursion into southern Syria. Israeli terrorists carried out a new incursion into Syria's southern Quneitra governorate on Sunday and set up a temporary checkpoint to search for civilians and passing vehicles. A patrol of 3 Israeli military vehicles advanced along the Al-Han and Al-Rafid road in the southern countryside of Quneitra, where troops established a checkpoint to inspect passerby and vehicles. So, like everything else, though, the Israeli state controls South Syria, and they continue to gain more and more territory. Israeli state continues strikes against Gaza despite Trump breakthrough. Yeah, because Trump just got this border, this fucking great fucking deal, to disarm Hamas and all this other shit, because of a fucking ceasefire he claims to have. So, either way, he's got this breakthrough of a peace negotiations to implement the ceasefire agreement between Israel and Hamas. What a joke that is, right? Trump's Board of Peace published in a 15-point. It's about as a joke as anything else he says, right? Hamas has apparently agreed to hand over its weapons for storage after the Israeli state halts military operations and withdraws its terrorists as set out in last year's agreement. But that's never happened. Israeli state still continues to attack Gaza. And, of course, the West Bank as well, which that's not even getting into the West Bank part of it. But nonetheless, though, they want to remove Palestine off the face of the map and take the whole greater state of Israel. And then the Greater Israel Project explains all the other wars, right? So, like everything else, so... President Trump claims the U.S. has an understanding with the Israeli state that it will abide by the newly announced Gaza roadmap that involves Hamas storing weapons and Israeli state withdrawing its forces from Gaza. So, but Israeli officials immediately signaled, shit. Where is it? Opposition to key provisions with influencer far-right Minister Ben Gvir. And of course, King Bibi has not yet commented on the deal. So, it doesn't even look like it's a deal to begin with. So, you know, whatever. Either way, though, that's what's going on there.
On the disarmament deal that you announced, do you have assurances from Israel that they are on board with this deal? And what comes first? Does Israel pull back and then Hamas disarms, or does Hamas need to disarm and then Israel disarms?
So we do have an understanding with Israel. Israel is very happy about it. Israel helped us. And they've been very good. They've been very good about it. Most people said that would be a deal that would be undoable. Now, will it go through its ups and downs? It's a very complex situation over there. The people are very complex and difficult. Many cases wonderful, in many cases not so wonderful. But that will be it's a great breakthrough. Nobody thought that would be possible to disarm Hamas. That shows you how much success we're having with Iran. Because if you go 4 months ago, 5 months ago, a deal like that would have been impossible. So it's a big step for the Middle East. And people are really impressed by it, and they're surprised by it.
And what comes first, Mr. President? What comes first?
Mr. Infantino speak to you about their proposal?
So, we know that's a joke because Iran is winning the war, which they won't tell you about, right? Not on the mainstream, but everybody else knows it, right? So here we are in the time now. This fierce king and cruel lord, Nero Caesar, in his regeneration, in his final generation. Daniel chapter 8, verse 23 reads, at the latter period of their reign, the Edomites' reign, when the transgressors have finished, a king will arise, insolent and skilled in intrigue and cunning, a.k.a., you know who that is. His power will be mighty, but not of his own power, and he will corrupt and destroy in an astonishing manner, and he will prosper and do exactly as he wills. He shall corrupt and destroy mighty men and the holy people, a.k.a. Nero Caesar. And through his shrewdness, he will cause deceit to succeed by his hand. He will magnify himself in his mind, just like he magnifies himself with everything. You know who this man is. He will corrupt and destroy many who enjoy a false sense of security. Yeah, every security deal, they want to make a deal. I got this great plan which nobody ever said it was possible, but I got it going. False sense of security, right? You know who this man is. He will also stand up and oppose the prince of princes, but he will be broken, and that by no human hand, but by the hand of Yahweh. The visions of the evenings and the mornings which he had been told to you is true. But this vision is a secret, for it has to do with many days in the now distant future, and we're in those days now. And like everything else, though, when Daniel had received this prophecy, he was very tired, because that's what it is when the Most High shows you, right? When the Most High shows you what's about to take place. So pretty much so, by peace shall destroy many, and he magnifies himself to be above everybody else. Is that not Donald Trump today? Nero Caesar in the regeneration? And I, Daniel, was exhausted and sick for several days after I got up and continued with the king's business, but I was astounded at the vision, and there was no one who could explain it. You see, like Apostle Tahar keeps on telling us, we're seeing the visions that they didn't get to see, and we're seeing it in real time, So, like everything else, though, Esau's coming to his end. He shall be like a madman, sparing none. So hopefully all this has been edifying. For that I want to say, Bracha the Yahweh, Bracha the Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rekakadash, Wa Abal Babal. Brakatum, Jehovah elect, Shalom.